Hi guys, these are going to be my first welds with this new PrimeWeld MIG 285. Let's see how it goes. This is 3/16 thick steel. Okay, not so bad for the first try. I just went off their settings on their chart, but these are never accurate. It's impossible for them to be because, you know, it just tells you the thickness of the metal. It doesn't tell you what type of weld you're doing and how thick, you know, the overall piece of the steel is. Like if this was an outside corner, you would want a lot less heat and wire speed so you don't overburn it. But a T-weld takes more heat because you have all this area trying to soak up that heat, but not too bad. So it's a little bit crowned up more than I'd like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit and then turn the wire speed down just a little bit. And this piece is warm now, so that's going to help a little bit too, welding this backside up. To the untrained eye, that's a pretty good weld, but in reality, it didn't, looking in at the root, it didn't penetrate in all that great. But pretty strong. You know, it could be great for lots of applications, but if you're looking for maximum strength, you want to cut into it a little bit better as you're going. And then I don't know if you noticed when I was welding along, you'd hear the sizzle kind of buck and kick a few times here and there, and that typically means that your wire speed's a little bit too fast for in relation to your heat, because when you're going along, the wire's pushing out too fast and it kind of pushes off the part and shorts out and doesn't stay smooth. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, let's do the other side. Okay, that one was quite a bit better. Except for here, you probably heard it short out again. That was because I slipped and skipped forward a little bit too fast on my travel speed, but turned out pretty nice. I'm going to do a couple more, but I'm going to turn the heat up even a little bit more and the wire down just a little bit more too. And it depends on what you're making. You guys probably get sick of me saying that, but it always depends on what you're making, you know, how hot you want this to go in. This could be plenty fine. If you wanted to be a full penetration hero, you know, you could make it strong, even stronger, but then you're going to warp the part more, you know. So do you want the part warped more, or do you want to just have it look good like that and be plenty strong? Depends on the application. Okay, now that's starting to cut in a lot better. Getting bigger spatter balls though. Versus those other ones. I'm going to turn the wire feed down even more. That was 20.1 volts and 320 on the wire speed with 30 thousandths wire. Turning the wire speed down means you're going to have to weld slower. You won't have as fast a travel speed. So if you're, in a production scenario, it might make more sense to have it cranked up just to get stuff done. And some guys will get annoyed by the oscillation technique, but it works just fine as long as you have the welder hot enough and you're, when you move forward and then stop and move forward again, doing the oscillation, if you have it set too cold, you're going to get up out of the puddle and it's not going to fuse in good. But like I said, if you have the welder turned up plenty hot, it's perfectly acceptable to do it this way. Plus the majority of people like how that looks too versus just a straight bead. This machine starts up really smooth too. I'm happy with it. Good controllable tack welds. Turn the heat down just a little bit on this one, see how it does. Pretty nice. Okay, let's try spot welding this one. Okay, I don't know why you'd ever normally want to do that, but that was just to illustrate how repeatable it starts up and how controllable the wire is as you're doing it. Quick pop quiz. Any of you guys know what this is? originally for? Let me know in the comments below if you know. Maybe a little bit too much wire speed on that, kind of humping up. And if you were doing a restart on a part that mattered, you'd want to chip all this out and clean it real good so you don't get these little inclusions in your weld that create porosity or voids. Here are all the MIG welding tips I promised you. Thanks for watching. If you're getting a lot of spatter, your heat may be too hot. Get a fiberglass heat pad to handle hot parts. This is invaluable. Link in the description below. If your wire's sticking out like this when you start a weld, don't do that. It's going to buck around and cause you problems. Snip it off. Or you can arc it off like this if you're in a production scenario where time's money. This type of nozzle is adjustable with the insulator. If you take this off and flip it around, and put the nozzle back on, it sets it way up in there deep. And that's good for spray transfer if you're using different gas and hotter, faster deposition rates for, you know, like thick parts. And then if you're doing general fab stuff, take it back off and put it the other way. And then when you bottom that out, see how far that sticks out? So you want it out that far for flux core welding, gasless. Then you can see what you're doing better. But a lot of people take the, you know, like even on smaller welders, it's pretty common to not run the nozzle for flux core because you don't need the gas shielding. But I like leaving it on because it makes tack welding more mindless. Like if you need to put a tack weld here, just set the nozzle down, pull the trigger and give yourself a little tack, and then you can drag it. It acts as a guide regardless of whether you're using gas or not. And then if you're using, you know, just like short circuit, which is like typical MIG that everybody does with the 75-25 argon CO2 mixed gas, I like to put it out just barely, about like that. That's my preference. Then when you come to the end of your weld, if you just keep going off the edge like that, this being so thin right at the edge is going to burn away and create a thin spot, and that is the #1 spot where a crack will start to form. So when you come to the end, stand your gun up, and then like in the video, I stopped welding and let it cool down for a second, then I hit the trigger again 1 or 2 more times to fill that in so there's not like a thin crater spot. And then another thing you can do, and then another thing you can do is the distance that your wire sticks out, the further it's out, the more resistance it creates, so you get less heat into the part. So when you come to the end, you can back off a little bit and have your wire hanging out further so it's colder of a weld, not as hot. One thing among many that I like about this PrimeWeld MIG 285 is in the settings on it, you can do 2T or 4T they call it. I have no idea why it's called that, but normally you have to hold the trigger to keep the wire coming out. If you're doing long production runs, that gets kind of tiring, especially if you're doing it, you know, for 8-hour shifts. So you can set it to just tap mode. So you tap it, run your whole weld, and then tap it back off. So that's less fatiguing on you. That's pretty cool. like I mentioned earlier in this video, if you're welding along and it's bucking on you and not just burning in nice and smooth, there's a pretty good chance that you have too much wire speed. It's pushing in too hard. And then if you're having problems with the wire sticking to your tip and always having to take it out and clean it, or try to pop it off or smack it to get it working again, there's a high probability that your wire speed is too slow because it's coming back up into the tip. It's not pushing enough metal out to liquefy and flow into your weld puddle, or you have it sticking out too far and you're touching it into the part. Or maybe you have the wrong size tip. This is an 045 tip and this is 030 wire. See that? Hopefully I can get this to focus good. See how you can see how that wire's slopping around in there? That's going to start arcing, and that'll liquefy the wire into the tip and lock it up, and then it won't come out. Then you end up fighting it. Or you get this gap too if you've been welding for a really long time with the same tip. They just get wore out. So if you're having problems with the wire sticking in here, that might be your problem. Put a new tip in it or put the right tip in it.